Fire for them, fire for them. If you're looking for that 35 bag umbrella and all damn thing there, keep it locked with DISUNOMICS podcast.
What's going on, people? I'm DISUNOMICS, and you need to know why South Africa dragged Israel to court. South Africa took Israel to face the ICJ, which is International Court of Justice in The Hague. The ICJ is the UN's judicial organ and has been in operation since 1948. The ICJ serves two main purposes. One, to settle disputes between two states under the guise of international law, and two, to offer advisory services, obviously, to the states that are relevant. Now, the ICJ actually can't put people in jail. That's the ICC. The ICC can put people in jail for up to 30 years. The ICJ, though, do have the power to make legally binding declarations. Now, technically, man could skirt them. Prime Minister Netanyahu, which is Israeli Prime Minister, has already said, literally this week as I'm recording, that, boy, we don't care what The Hague says, we're going to do what we're going to do. That kind of implies that they're going to circumvent the ruling from The Hague. Now, you're probably thinking, why did South Africa do this? Wait, why haven't that man taken Hamas? Condemn Hamas. Hamas. October the 7th, condemn Hamas. Hamas did not sign the Genocide Convention. So by default, they can't take them to court. The ICJ only deals with states, yeah? Not private organizations, not individuals, not military groups, states. Hamas are not a state. Hamas and Israel, they will get their day in court. They will have to face the ICC, and hopefully people go to jail. Now, South Africa have been a staunch defender of Palestine, and the ANC, which is the ruling party in South Africa, have had ties to the Palestinian Liberation Organization from the 1990s. I'm talking since Mandela's been in jail. Even the late Yasser Arafat from the Palestinian side spoke of how there's a lot of similarities between them two because they're both fighting for self-determination. And as we know, South Africa were in a state of an apartheid, which Israel currently inflicts over the people of Palestine. What happened in court? On a Thursday, South Africa laid their arguments. They spoke of 5 genocidal acts, and I'm going to go through them as quickly as possible. Now, I go through these in more detail on my podcast. I'll put the link in the description. So if you want to go check that out and get more gist, more detail, feel free. Mass killings of Palestinians. Over 23,000 have died. We've seen all types of deaths, from bombs to snipers. It has been absolutely tragic. A massive proportion of the dead are currently women and children. Innocent people are the majority of the victims so far in Gaza. The South African lawyers cleverly showed evidence upon evidence, right? You're seeing mass graves. And I've actually seen videos of them running over, when I say them, I mean the IDF, digging up graves and then running over the bodies. Of mass graves, the destruction, and also reference to the nature of ammunition, right? So South African lawyers spoke on Israel dropping 2,000-pound bombs. When I say 2,000 pounds, I don't mean 2 bags. I don't mean, do you know what I mean? Actually, 2,000 Great British pounds. Now, these bombs are so deadly that once they drop, they can discharge lethal fragments to hit you from 1,000 feet away. And what 1,000 feet is 3 football pitches. And there was countless times where the Israeli forces dropped these destructive bombs in areas which they designated to be safe. Hundreds of times. They've dropped more bombs in 2 months in one tiny area, and Gaza's the size of Glasgow, than the American forces dropped in the whole of 1 year. I think the year is 2003, if I remember correctly, in the whole of Iraq. Also, 1,000 families have lost multiple members. There's been so many families that have been completely eradicated. I mean, auntie, cousin, nephew, niece, grandma, daughter, son, everybody from that family tree, gone. Gone. That is the level of destruction. 2.5% of the population have died. Now, 2.5% of the American population is 3.5 million people. So imagine 3.5 million. That's more people than there is in Manchester. Gone. 4% of the population would have been either wounded or dead. Number 2, bodily and mental harm. So they spoke of how Israeli forces were capturing people, stripping them naked, beating them, interrogating them, torturing them, and letting them loose. And these are things that I've seen with my own 2 eyes right here, fam. Do you get what I'm saying? That there was one time when they had this big parade, these are all Hamas. these are Hamas operatives. Then even the IDF had to admit 10 to 15% had ties to Hamas. Not even Gara Hamas had ties to Hamas. And these people were stripped, half naked, and made to walk home. Remember I told you, 60,000 people have been wounded or maimed. Literally, almost every day I'm seeing people with no legs. You get what I'm saying? The healthcare system has been absolutely destroyed. And as I'm recording, the last operating hospital in Gaza is currently being surrounded by Israeli forces as I'm speaking today. They have blown up all the hospitals. They have 6 ambulances left. Now, forced displacement. That speaks for itself. 2.5 million people wandering around. 85% of them, shall I say, wandering around. They have no homes. Most of their homes are destroyed. And people that try to return get shot at. So imagine being homeless. That's what's happening right now in Gaza. Forced displacement. And we've seen the genocidal lyrics from Smotrich, who is a minister, Ben-Gvir, another minister, and then Prime Minister Netanyahu, speaking of displacement. Yeah. These men should move, you know. Or after the war, we're going to run Gaza. And obviously, all these statements got condemned, mass condemnations. And it's quite funny because these men are literally taking notes in a criminal investigation. That they were making these statements after they knew they had to go face the ICJ. Before the war, 500 trucks of aid and food was coming in every day. Obviously, when the war started, they stopped that. They clearly spoke of cutting food, electricity, water, which they did. They cut off internet. People weren't able to use their cell phones. The only time where there was a significant amount of food trucks coming in was in the 1 week pause when they swapped hostages, and this got up to 200. Now, there was also destruction of the healthcare system, which I've spoken on prior, and the preventing of Palestinian births. This was kind of one of the worst things, in my opinion. They're blocking life-saving treatment to save babies. There were babies in incubators, and they still cut off the power. Now, you've heard this and thinking, God damn, them N-words are in trouble. Israel, of course, on the Friday had their opportunity to rebuttal. They went on initially, they wanted to show the 47-minute video of October 7th. Rightfully, the court said no. Because what people need to understand is, no matter how terrible Hamas's actions are on October the 7th, and they were, 695 innocent people have died. Now, we don't know how many of that is friendly fire and how many of that's Hamas, but we definitely know that Hamas killed loads of innocent people. And they kidnapped Bear. Right? No matter how bad an action of Hamas is, no action in the world can ever justify genocide. Now, Israel's argument is their right to self-defense. They believe that they have the right to defend themselves. People around the region where the Palestinian resistance, which is Hamas and Islamic resistance and other groups, crossed the border and attacked military outposts and then went into civilian territories. In these areas, people now have had to evacuate because they don't feel safe. So Israel argued that. They said that there was genocide launched against them and they had to defend themselves. Now, what's interesting is they believe they have the right to defend themselves under international law. But according to international law, if you are an occupying state, an occupying power, you can't defend yourself because you are the occupier. Which I believe. I'm thinking, that's like you come into my house, yeah? Kick me out my bed, I have to live in the back garden. Watching my Sky, using my YouTube Premium, using my summer speakers, sitting in my Louis trainers, in my bathrobe, going to my fridge, and I eventually hit you on the head with a frying pan. You can't come and say you're defending yourself because, big man, why are you there? You get what I'm saying? Ridiculous. They also argued against South Africa's insertion of genocidal intent. They say that, first of all, we are the people from the Holocaust. We would never do genocide. We are the safest. We are the most thoughtful army in the world. We tell people to move because we want to blow up this place. We've did millions of phone calls. We dropped millions of leaflets. This is going to be a very hard argument to take when you literally have a plethora, I probably said that word wrong, plethora of genocidal statements. From the Prime Minister invoking Amalek, which is the story in the Bible where you kill all men, women and children. Why would he say that? The Agriculture Minister saying, drop a nuke on them. Speaking of kicking them out of their homes, referring to them as referring to them as animals, referring to them as the children of darkness. So many statements. They also spoke of lack of jurisdiction. They're saying, the way the process is meant to work is that South Africa, you have a problem with what man's on. So you hit man up, We'll talk. Listen, we were down to talk, bro. You could have got my phone number from I was about to say Obama. You know, you could have got my phone number from Biden. We could have had a chat on Teams. You know what I'm saying? We could have chopped this up, but we really could have given you assurances. So therefore, you can't really raise a dispute with us. Yeah, you can't really raise a dispute with us because we haven't even had a chance to break bread. That was some of their arguments, and it makes sense, but it's kind of technically kind of a weak argument. Now, the final defense was humanitarian aid. They believe that they've been doing their best to allow humanitarian aid in. They say the allegations from the UN are inaccurate. They believe the UN are embedded with Hamas. They also believe South Africa are the legal team of Hamas. Imagine your argument is, the UN, them and Hamas, like that. Insane. As I said before, the UN claimed that there was 500 trucks entering Gaza a day. Now, there was 70 trucks entering Gaza. 70. From 500 to 70. Now, it's gone up to 106 roughly per day in the past 2 weeks. But remember, from 500, to now 106. That is a drop of 400 a day. Bearing in mind, you have blown up everywhere. So it's not that people are going to work and making food and you've destroyed everything. Literally everything. People are starving. People are starving. They said that 80% of the hungriest people in the world are in Gaza. Crazy. So that was Israel's arguments. Now, if you ask my opinion, you probably tell my opinion. They're not capping cuz. Like, this is the most blatant case of genocidal intent. Now, I know, because I do my research, their politicians have spoken on how they're proud that Palestine has never become a state. Benjamin Netanyahu literally boasted that for the last 30 years, he's been deliberately sabotaging all peace talks because he doesn't want Palestine to be a state. That's his word, it's not mine. That's what bro said. Do you get what I'm saying? It's a bit hard to defend. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, what's funny is the IDF. They have been actually recording a criminal conspiracy in real time, from TikTok to Facebook to Insta. I've seen videos of them like celebrating blowing up buildings, blowing up schools, blowing up mosques, blowing up homes. I've seen a video of them playing with Palestinian kids' bikes, taking a mic. I saw a video of a guy, he's actually a British citizen, and he came back, he was doing a talk today as I'm recording, of like holding up a Palestinian woman's bra. Like, you can see, and the South Africans made a brilliant case of showing how the words from the top has trickled down to the actions of the forces actually carrying out these events. And one key thing before I leave, because I don't think I mentioned this at the top. You can't say, and this is one of Israel's arguments, that they are being very strategic, they're trying to minimize civilian death. You can't say this if you're telling me to go to safe zones and burn them up. You can't say this if 23,000 people are dead. You can't say this if virtually half of the buildings in Gaza are all gone. You can't say this if there's 6 ambulances left, 1 hospital left. You can't say that you're trying to minimize civilian casualties. And you definitely can't say this if 50% of the bombs you've dropped are unguided, aka dumb bombs. Do you know what dumb bombs mean? They mean they're not specified, they're not going to a particular target. They just drop and everything collapses. So how are you trying to save civilians? Now you know why South Africa dragged Israel to court. I hope you enjoyed that. Like, share, subscribe. I don't know what the YouTubers say. But yeah, until next time, peace.